It's your wedding day and you got some nerves, right? So somebody suggests, hey, we got some champagne over here, whatever. Hey, I got some vodka over here. How about just having a sip, just to calm the nerves a little bit? I understand where you're coming from. So you get yourself a little sip. That sip turns into a glass. Your nerves still are kind of shot. So you have a second glass and a third glass and a fourth glass. And then maybe before you know it, you're hammered.
Yep.
On your wedding day.
I never thought I would say this, but I am so mad that I missed a wedding. I'm so mad. And I missed it because, so I don't know if y'all remember me telling y'all this, but I have a group of friends that I grew up with, and all of them are married. And we're the last two. Me and the guy who just got married were the last two to not be married. And I missed like every wedding within this group because of timing and just life. And I've always hated that I just didn't make it to any of my good friends' weddings. So I'd promised myself, whenever this dude gets married, I'm going to be there, no matter what. And of course, it seems like you say things out loud and life challenges you. And he ends up changing his date kind of last minute, a few months before. And it just happened to be on the same date that I already got the ball rolling to have a live podcast show. So I just was like, I can't change this one, man. Like, I don't want to be that guy. So he understood, and he was like, listen, we're doing a fellas trip after the celebrate. Just make it up to me then. I said, done, not a problem. So I knew I couldn't make it, but I did send a gift, Kristen, because I remembered you gave me that lesson. I didn't send gifts to my other friends. I still owe them gifts for that. But I did send them the gift, and that was that. And I wasn't thinking much of it. Now, I start getting a lot of text as I'm doing the show, not really thinking anything of it, just thinking, whatever people are texting me.
During the
live podcast.
Because this happens to be the same time your best friend, one of your good friends, is getting married.
Same day.
Didn't you actually answer the phone while you were doing your live podcast?
That was the reason.
That was the reason.
Yes, because I was like, because I saw, like, they kept calling me, like, over and over and over. And I was like, man, this better be good, because I'm literally on stage doing a live podcast and you interrupting it. What is it?
So like Romeo or Katie are talking and I'm looking at Mo and he literally is on the phone saying, I can read your lips. It's just like, I got to call you back right now.
I thought I would be able to put the phone on speaker and then put the mic to the phone and then everybody could hear him and then I was going to make fun of him for it, but it didn't work out. So that's why you didn't hear his part of the conversation. But he's on the other line going crazy because he's my dude's best man and they can't find him. So that was the thing. For some reason, he calls me. I'm like, you think I would know where he is? Like, what do you want me to do?
Right.
But they called me for help.
The groom went missing?
Yes.
So like maybe they were texting you going, hey, is he stressed out? Maybe he reached out to you. You have any idea where he is? That kind of thing?
Exactly. Because typically I'm like the guy. I'm like the go-to guy in the group when they're like going through something of needing some advice. So they assumed he probably had reached out to me if he reached out to anyone. But he hadn't reached out to me. So I'm like, this is crazy. But what I'm going to do? So the next day, I start now reading the text messages. So we're all in a group. And so they're texting each other.
This guy, you're not going to tell us he was on the top of a hotel in Las Vegas, are you?
Not exactly that.
Okay.
It more resembles this movie called The Wood. I don't know if y'all ever heard of The Wood, but one of my friends in the group text like, this dude really thinks he's in The Wood, which is like an infamous movie in black culture that's about a guy ruining his wedding day because he's way too drunk.
Okay.
And so he wasn't, he was missing, but he wasn't. What happened was, I guess him and his wife's-to-be's father went to get a couple drinks because it was actually the father's idea. While I guess they were done early.
He and his future father-in-law?
Right. And he was like, hey, man, let's go get a couple shots and just rap about how you feel. And my dude was like, all right, cool, let's do it. And they went to some random local bar by where they were, and they went to go have a couple shots. Now, the problem was the father doesn't have a cell phone. That's just not his thing. Older cat. He don't want anything to do with cell phones. He feels like, I don't want people to know where I'm at all the time. Probably don't want to talk to you. He don't have a cell phone. My dude does have a cell phone. He accidentally left it in the car. I guess somehow they
How do you leave your cell phone in the car on your wedding day when, like, that's the day most people need to get a hold of you?
It's a great question. That's a great question. I think he said it fell out his pocket and it like seeped down into the seat, one of those deals. So he didn't even realize he didn't have it on him. And they had, according to his recollection, like 10 shots.
Oh, no.
They was just shooting it. And I believe it.
Oh my God, if I was the bride, now you're not only pissed at your groom, but you're also pissed at your father.
And I could see it because he could go. Her father, I've drunk with him.
Is that right?
That man can go. So I think I don't know, I guess he thought he was doing him a favor because he was nervous. And he was telling him, I had cold feet too. And he was, giving him that kind of thing. And I guess they got a little carried away. And they looked at the time. And they knew what time they had to be back, but he didn't realize he didn't have his phone. So as everybody is texting him, like, where'd y'all go? Where are you? Are you good? So pretty much, I guess everybody knows except his soon-to-be wife. She doesn't know. They're keeping it from her, but everybody else knows they can't find him. And they're not thinking it's a big deal. They're just thinking we drinking, it's fine, we'll be there on time. And I guess when he showed up, when he finally got there, he was on time. It was an at the buzzer kind of deal, but he was clearly drunk, like really drunk. So I guess the point where he was like stumbling down the aisle, and it wasn't a good look for him or the father.
Now, if you're the bride, I'm assuming your first thought is, does this dude really want to be married?
So, funny you say that, because not only was that her first thought, it was mine. And so when I finally spoke to him, because I didn't get to speak to him until like 2 days after, because he's putting out fires left and right.
He also had a gnarly hangover, probably too.
That as well. And so I guess she hasn't really spoke to him since. Like they did go through with the process. They got married. She faked it for all of the people. But when I was speaking to him, I was like, bro, what happened? He said, fam, I honestly I was nervous. I got caught up in the moment. I just kept drinking. He's like, I'd never drunk that much in my life. I just kept drinking. And I said, well, how are you and the wife doing? He said, bro, she ain't said a word to me. So
period, or about the
she
event?
hasn't said a word to him.
Oh, that's not a good way to start a marriage.
Like not a word.
No.
And so I said, keep it real with me. Like, do you want to be married? Because that doesn't seem like a move of someone who wants to be married. I kind of said it jokingly, but I was kind of serious. And then he said, bro, I don't think so.
Oh, no, dude.
I was not at all prepared for that answer.
Yeah, right.
I was not at all. And then, I asked him, I said, you mind if I talk about this? And he said, I actually want you to, because I don't know what to do. He said he doesn't really know how common it is because he's getting mixed signals. Some people are saying, bro, I've been there. I was the same way when I got married. It's not a big deal. Other people are saying, no, it was the greatest day of my life. I knew 100% for certain that's what I wanted to do. So I'm like, I can't advise you in this area. I have no idea.
Yeah, so let me ask you guys. I know it's tough to get the phones going sometimes this early in the morning, but here's something I don't know that I have heard talked about, like cold feet even right after your wedding. Like, is it possible?
Oh, yeah.
1-855-BERT show that the cold feet we normally talk about are right before the wedding, right? But he gets married and he realizes like the day or two after, like maybe I made a mistake, right? And maybe it still is just cold feet, but maybe it's legit. And if you were through that, how did you get past, like, how did you determine which it was? 1-855-BERT show. I don't know.
I don't either. Because his thing is, he loves her. No doubt about that. He's like, I love her. I want to be with her. But he more so got married because it was an ultimatum. And he knew he would lose her if he didn't marry her. So in his mind, it was like, I'd rather marry her than lose her. So let me get married. But it's like now you're married and you don't really want to be married, even though you really do love the woman you're with.
So he wants to be with her. He just doesn't want to be married, period.
Exactly. And she sees it as, you just have commitment problems, just get over it. Like, you're going to be with me anyway, so why not just get married? And she was done, man. She done been married before. She was like, listen, if you're not going to marry me, I'm out.
Damn.
And so
damn. Imagine like sitting there. I'm just trying to think like the very next day when you're sitting there with all the remorse going, that was the biggest mistake I've ever made in my life. And not knowing if it's like a real thought.
The drinking or the wedding?
The wedding. You can get past the hangover, but not knowing if like you really just changed the course of your life.
Yeah, especially while your wife's not talking to you directly after you got married to her. So he's...
Ooh, that is not a good way to start things off.
Nope.
You think? It's pretty much the worst way.
It's as worse as it gets.
Now, I've heard people like, as soon as they leave the wedding or on the honeymoon, getting real pissed at each other, but never not talking to each other the day after the wedding.
Imagine that. They're in the
Super
same
bad.
place, not talking.
The Bert Show.
Like what you just watched? Well, you can get way more of The Bert Show on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your favorite podcast.